and pianist as well. So we're very blessed here at Hilltop, and you guys know that's true. I wanted to begin a sermon series, and I've been struggling with it I thought when I start these series, I always think they're a brilliant idea, like back in the fall when I planned them, and then when I get to them, I'm just like, oh, why? Why did I do this? The sermon series is called Why Church? You know, why this? Why church? And it kind of developed out of hearing the responses from the nuns that we wrote down. Remember, the nuns are those people in your life who no longer have a church, who grew up maybe going to church, but now if you ask them a religious preference, they would say none. They're sort of the lost sheep of Israel, you know, and a lot of them. I gave you homework, and one of the questions in your homework was to ask some of the unchurched, the nuns in your life, to ask them if they believe themselves to be religious or spiritual still. And the responses I got was almost everyone would say, yes, I'm a very spiritual person. I am a religious person. I just don't think you need the church to do that, to be a Christian. And I don't think the church is necessary. And it kind of made me think, why would they rather do this alone? I mean, what does that say about the church that they would rather be Christians alone than with the church? And the question that often comes up to me is, can I be a Christian and not go to church? Can I be a Christian and not go to church? When I meet non-church people, they ask me that. They find out I'm a pastor, and they'll I'll say, where do you go to church or whatever? And they'll say, well, I'm a Christian, but I don't go to church. Is that okay? You know, I think it's okay. That's what they kind of justify themselves, and they'll ask me if that's okay. And whenever you ask the pastor a question, as Norma Preston will tell you, because she asked me a question right before I came in, there's never an easy answer. It's not a short answer, right? So this series is going to be 3, maybe 4 weeks long on why church, because it's not a yes or no question. Can I be a Christian and not go to church? It's not easy just to answer that simply. Now, when we think about the church, the study of thinking about the church, there's actually a field of study. It's called ecclesiology. Ecclesiology, the study of the church. Not church history, but what is the church? And that's maybe the most important question first, is what is the church, before we think about why church. When we think about this, it's more than church history. It's the essence of what is the church. And I got to tell you this, that the first thing I want to tell people who ask me, can I be a Christian and not go to church? I want to tell them that church wasn't my idea. It's not my idea. I would never dream this up. I would rather be a Christian alone. I got a joke this week by Diane Mell. She sent me a joke in the mail this week. I'm going to share it with you. It says, a man told his wife he was not going to church this morning for 3 reasons. Number 1, the congregation is cold. 2, the people don't like me. And 3, I just don't want to. And his wife said, okay, but here are my 3 reasons why I want you to go. Number 1, the congregation is not cold. Number 2, some people there do like you. And number 3, you're the preacher, so get dressed, you're going. Right, I mean, I have some of the same feelings sometimes about what you all have about the church, you know. The church can be judgmental. It has been judgmental. The church can, you guys are still laughing, that's okay. The church can be hypocritical. The church can be two-faced. The church can be a tough place. And when I think about, the perfect church, and I think about judgmentalism and hypocriticalism, is that a word? Hypocrisy, that's the word. When I think about all those things, and I know the church can be this way, and the reason I know the church can be this way is because I'm all those things. I am judgmental. I am a hypocrite. I can be two-faced. I can be cold. And when I think about finding the perfect church where that doesn't exist, as soon as I join it, I know it will no longer be true. Because I'm a person. And so, yeah, the church is comprised of people, and it's all those things. But what I love about church is that it's comprised of people who don't want to be that way. Yeah, we're still that way. But we want to make Jesus the Lord of our lives. Like Andrew preached on last week, we want God to transform us. We're ready now for him to transform us from all those things. Okay, that's not what I'm preaching on today, but it'll preach. when I put on Facebook, I like to put on Facebook some ideas about what to, sermon fodder, and I put on Facebook, why church? And many people gave responses when I asked them, just why church? Why do we do church? And they said, well, it's a place I can go to where I feel like people accept me. It's a place where I can go and meet God. And everything they talked about, I noticed in the first question that I asked was that it was about what the benefits they receive from church. And so I wanted to tweak the question a little bit. I said, no, why, not why church from your perspective, because I assume many of you come for reasons that are because you're getting something from it. So you come for your own reasons. But why church from God's perspective? In other words, if church was God's idea, why? What's God's idea with this thing called church? And Katie Med, Terry Berg's daughter, wrote back and said, was church God's idea? That's a good question right there. What was church God's idea? And I think there's a lot of things we could say about church that's not God's idea. But the original concept of church was totally and completely God's idea, and I want to make that point for you today. Let's turn in our scripture to Matthew chapter 16. The word church never appears in our New Testament. I mean the English word church. Why? Because the New Testament was written in Greek. It appears in your English New Testament, but in the original Greek, there's no such word church, right? But yet Jesus uses the word, and people understood what he was talking about. And this is when he used it the first time. This is when we hear it in Scripture the first time. Matthew 16. So it appears 114 times, depending on your version, and this is the first time it appears. Now when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, who do people say that the Son of Man is? In other words, who do people say that I am? He asked his disciples this, and they said, some say that you're John the Baptist. Others say Elijah, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. And he said to them, who do you say that I am? Who do you say that I am? And Simon Peter answered, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And Jesus answered him, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, which means rock. And on this rock, I will build my church. God's idea. Christ's idea to build a church. And the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. There it is, the first time. And the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Now when Jesus asked Simon Peter, who do you say that I am? He said, you are the Messiah. You're the anointed one. You see, the Jewish people have been waiting for the Messiah, the one who would come back and restore the world to how it should be. Usher in a new kingdom, redeeming all, saving all, the anointed and chosen one of God. And people can say as much as they want about Jesus, but this is who he is. This is who he really is. And Peter makes that confession of faith. And out of response to that, Jesus says to him, awesome, you got it right. Peter, from now on your name is going to be Rock, because it's on this foundation that I'm going to build my church. So what is it that he's going to build on? What is he building his church on? Is he building it on Peter, or is he building on that confession? The confession that all of us make, that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of the living God. The church is formed on that confession. All who confess that Christ is the Messiah, the one who has come to save and restore and redeem, the Son of the living God. All who can make that confession, the church will be built upon them. But when he said to Peter, on this rock I will build my church, if you think about it, there were no churches yet, right? Because no other religion has church. It's a Christian thing, And the Christian church hadn't started yet because it was just now Jesus was saying it for the first time. But so when he said, on this rock I'll build my church, he was